All over you hear the slogan, Black Lives Matter. And there's a big problem with that campaign and that slogan because the big problem is that this is a black men's issue and it really should be saying black men's lives matter. And the other big problem is that black men are not taking the forefront of this issue. And that's my big problem with this whole Black Lives Matter thing because, it's a black man's issue. Because if we really look at the justice system, black women have no problem getting justice. For example, with Renisha McBride last year, when she was murdered by this white male, she had no problem getting a conviction for 25 to life for that man. Or in the case of this university professor who was brutalized by police officers, she was able to get justice and get those officers terminated from their job. When we look at black men such as Eric Garner and Michael Brown, they're the ones having problems getting recourse from the legal system because when it comes to black men, it's like black men's lives don't matter. And this is why the issue should be headed by the forefront by black men. What the big problem is that we have black women speaking for black men. Because if we look at the case of Eric Garner and Michael Brown, the person speaking are Eric Garner's wife, Eric Garner's mother, um, Michael Brown's mother, Michael Brown's and that is Michael Brown's mother and his grandmother. But we don't see any of the men, and when we do see the men, they're in minimized roles. Like when we look at Eric Garner's stepfather, when he was on the news after the indictment, he didn't have much to say, and he should have been at the forefront of this issue, talking about because this is your stepson who just got killed, and you should be at the forefront of this issue. And in the case of Michael Brown, his stepfather was pretty much an emotional, dysfunctional individual, looking like he was trying to incite a riot. Again, this is supposed to be a men's issue because when you have most of the people being killed um, by police, white police officers, in most cases, are black men, and you have black men not saying a single word. They're letting women speak for them, and they don't. And what most black men do not understand is, when your woman speaks for you, it is from a position of weak. It shows you in a position of weakness, and it says that you can't speak for yourself. And the other part that really disturbs me with this whole thing is these are young black men being killed, and we've got these old civil rights leaders, these old screwed up civil rights leaders like Al Sharpton and these pimp pastors coming out to advocate for these causes when this has nothing to do with them. If you look at black men over the last 25, 30 years, these guys have not been helpful in any way, shape, or form to black men in showing that their lives matter. So to have them speaking for them doesn't help anything because this is a generational issue as I see it. And black men, if they want to say that their lives matter, they're going to have to come out and start speaking about this and taking the forefront because with the pastors, the black women, the white liberals taking the forefront of this issue, it has turned into a quagmire. And that's because black men are not leading, they're just following. And you can't meet any goals when you follow somebody's lead. You're gonna get dictated to and told what you're gonna get. And this is why we black men did not get any indictments in both situations. Because black men are not showing that their lives have value. They're not showing that their lives matter. And they're not taking the leadership roles that black men have taken in the past 50 years with Emmett Till and other cases. What I'm seeing today with black men is that they're in a sorry state. I mean, when your woman is speaking for you and trying to advocate your cause, that again says that you're coming from a position of weakness. It says that you're too timid and too scared to speak for yourself, and you're allowing others to speak for you, and that's not going to help young black men today. I mean, men from my generation and my age range, I mean, I'm like maybe 4 or 5 years away from Eric Garner. I'm 41, so I can say that our issues are completely different, and because it's a totally different generation from an Al Sharpton or any of these civil rights leaders like Jesse Jackson or any of these other jokers out here, these pastors, these comedy hours. They don't understand what this is, and they don't understand that black man is a big problem is not white cops devaluing the black man's life. The biggest problem with black men being devalued and having to show that their lives matter are other black men and are other black men. It's pretty much other black men who have been brainwashed by white supremacy and white feminism and have been indoctrinated in these single mother households to believe that they don't put themselves first. That is the big problem in many of these with these black men is that they don't value their own lives, they don't put themselves first, and they come from a position of weakness, and they think that coming from a position of weakness is going to help them achieve their goals, and it doesn't help them achieve their goals, which is what we saw with these two grand jury decisions, because black men, again, did not show that their lives mattered. I mean, over the last 25 years, black men have not shown that their lives matter in large quantities. What they've been because if we look at black men, I mean, when I was growing up in the 1980s, black men were killing themselves over the silliest things. I mean, they were during this period they were killing themselves over sneakers, over leather jackets, over a girl, and basically saying that they are disposable, they have no value as human beings, and telling the world that okay, it's okay to kill black men. Because how can you say that your life matters if you don't value it? And that is the big problem with Black Lives Matter to me, is that you want to tell everybody that your life matters, but then you don't value it. Everybody else in the world values themselves enough to say that my life matters by my actions. And if you look at the actions of black men, they show from their actions that they don't matter. Because this is the way they have been raised. They've been raised to put themselves in a secondary role because they grow up in these single mother households. They see women being put first, and they don't learn to put themselves first. This is why it's important to have a father in your life and a father in the home, because he's going to show this boy that his life matters, that his life has value, and that he needs to put himself first. This is the big problem with with a lot of these black men, is that they learn from their single mother, because a lot of them grow up in these single mother households. They see her putting herself first. They see her putting the daughters first, and they see themselves being either coddled and spoiled, or they don't, or they see themselves being put in a secondary submissive role. They learn how to submit. They don't learn how to lead, and that's why what I'm seeing right now with this whole Eric Garner and Michael Brown situation. You see all these men in the back, and the same thing with this Akai Gurley situation here in New York. Same thing. You see these women at the forefront. You don't see no fathers. You don't see and you don't see any stepfathers. You don't see any men leading this thing, and it's the black men being killed. But you don't see no black men speaking out on this issue, and that's not how you get things done. If black men are the ones who are in danger, then black men need to be taking a lead, and I'm not seeing that. And the black men who we do see in the lead are not acting in the best interest of black men. If you saw more black men like myself in the lead, it'd be a whole different story, because we would understand the issues that relate to black men over the last 25, 30 years. We would be able to express the points clearly, like I am right now in this video. And it would be a whole different conversation on the issue. And we're not seeing that with this Black Lives Matter thing. All we're seeing is people carrying signs talking about Black Lives Matter. But the big problem is that these black men growing up as little boys never learn to value their own lives, and they never learn that you show how you value your own lives through your behaviors. Your actions speak louder than your words. And when it comes to black men, I mean, we're the ones putting this image out here, I mean, of the worst of the worst. We have bought into these false stereotypes about lazy, shiftless black men that go back all the way to post-Reconstruction America. I mean, I look at black men today, and how can you say that you're valuable when you're standing outside of a foreign-owned store from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock in the evening? You're saying that your time has no value when you stand outside of this man's store. He's in there making a whole bunch of money and you're standing outside of it. When I looked at things when I was about 16, 17 years old, I said, this guy standing out there outside of the store is ridiculous because he's not paying you for this. So you're basically spending 10 hours of your day standing outside of somebody's property while they go in there and make money to beg for change. And sadly, we've gotten a whole new generation of black males who think the exact same way. That they're standing outside of somebody's property watching them make money while they beg for change. They don't see what's wrong with this picture. And they don't see how it says to the world that you don't matter. You don't have any value. When you stand outside somebody's property, they're in there making money. The only way I'm going to stand outside of somebody's store is if they're paying me a wage and a salary. That's the only way I'm going to stand outside somebody's store. But when a black man is saying that I don't have any value, I don't matter, that I'm at the bottom, and I'm not even trying to even get up from under the bottom. I mean, I look at and the sad part is these guys have on $200 sneakers, leather jackets, $1,000 leather jackets, and carrying $500 iPhones. Yet they're gonna sit there and stand outside of a store and beg a guy for $1. Because I've had this happen to me. Me and one of my family members, we were going out buying office supplies for a job, and the guy comes up to me again, $200 sneakers, $500 iPhone, $1,000 leather jacket. Can I get $1? Do you know how embarrassing that is? I mean, when you look at that picture of black manhood, it is utterly and completely embarrassing. I mean, you're a man. You're supposed to be able to say, look, I'm not going to stand outside this guy's store or this guy's red and white chicken place and sit there and ask for change. It says I have no value. And this is the big problem with black men. How can you say that your life matters when you are participating in actions that show your life has no value? I mean, this is scavenger behavior. If you are a man and you are going to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning to go someplace, if I'm gonna get up at 8 o'clock in the morning to go outside in front of a store, I'm going there to ask for a job. That's the way I look at it, and that's the way many black men need to start looking at it. And if these people won't give you a job, then you need to stop standing out in front of there, because it's your time is money, and when you value yourself, you will make statements like that. You'll say, "Look, my time is money. My time is valuable. Most importantly, my time is precious because God only gives us a little bit of time on earth." And when we take our time and waste it doing foolish stuff like standing outside of a store, how are other people supposed to see that a black life matters? I mean, black people are the ones who need to start looking and listening to these slogans that they're saying and say to themselves, look, if I don't value myself, how are other people supposed to value me? Because if I go and do stupid stuff like standing outside in front of a foreign-owned store, or I'm spending all day sitting up playing Xbox, or I'm sitting up making thirsty comments on Facebook, how can I expect other people to see me as a valuable human being? How can I expect other people to say that I matter? I mean, your actions, black people, black men, are speaking louder than your words. I mean, you have all the tools to make your life matter. I mean, you have all these resources. You have more resources than I ever had 20 years ago 25 years ago when I was in high school. I mean, we have this internet, great technology. We have computers. I mean, some of you guys sitting up have iPhones and access to the internet that your mother is paying for, and you're not using these tools to enrich yourself or to build yourself up. I mean, it doesn't take much to get you an eBay account or write you a book put it up on the Kindle or something, some way of making money for yourself or using this YouTube to make money for yourself. And there's all these tools around you. I mean, I've used a lot of them to try to build myself up over the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, I lost a job 5 or 6 years ago, and I'm trying to build myself up with using these tools. And I look at many black men, they're not trying to use any of these tools. What they're doing, basically, is just sitting there wallowing in self-pity and playing the victim and expecting other people to see you as valuable when you don't see yourself as valuable. And that is the big problem with black men. I mean, I look at this whole cause. That's the reason why it's turned into a quagmire, is because the black man is not speaking for himself. He is not taking a leadership role. He is not saying what needs to be said. He's just sitting there letting his woman lead his cause and letting these old head black men like Al Sharpton and these pimp pastors speak for him when it should be the black man speaking for himself. I mean, I found it deeply saddening to me when I saw Eric Garner's stepfather driving away after this indictment and not having much to say. And when I saw Michael Brown's stepfather not having much to say, I mean, getting all emotional. But it showed how dysfunctional black men are, because both of these men are in my age range, and even Eric Garner was in my age range. And what was deeply saddening to me was that none of these men knew how to function. But I understood why they didn't know how to function, because I ran into a lot of these guys when I was 12 years old and I went to junior high school. I ran into a lot of these type of dysfunctional males. And a lot of them did not understand how to deal with life then. And I have a family member who, again, works in the school system as a teacher, and they're running into this at 6 and 7 years old. And a lot of these guys, again, they have no coping skills, they have no critical thinking skills, they don't know how to navigate through their emotions, they don't know how to deal with life. And as they get older, they become like an Eric Garner. You try and sell cigarettes on the street when there are many other employment opportunities and many other hustles you can do that make twice as much money. And this is why these guys wind up in these dysfunctional situations, because they don't know how to navigate through life. They have no social skills. They have no interpersonal skills. They have no business skills. And because I've seen guys who on a train, like 15, 16 years old, or when I'm going down 149th Street, wearing concourse to the Gateway Center, these guys, they're selling candy. They have salesmanship skills and business skills. And them guys, they kind of do all right. And it's the ones who can't function, like your Eric Garners and your Michael Browns. Now, I don't mean to speak bad about them, but really look at the picture. And this is because what happened to them is that they didn't understand how to do things in life. They didn't know how to navigate things, and sadly, the people in the community keep trying to rally and support. But the whole thing is that if Black Lives Matter, black men have to start showing that. Black men have to show that through their actions. We have not seen that in 25 years. We have not seen black men show that their lives matter. I mean, I look at because I grew up in the 80s with the crack epidemic and all that stuff, and none of these black men have shown that their lives matter. The first thing they're doing is going for the dope, selling the dope, and going for this. They put everything above themselves. They don't say that their own lives have value. I mean, a black man will go out here and sacrifice his personal power, his intangibles of manhood, his dignity, his self-respect, his self-worth for a pair of sneakers. I mean, he will sacrifice his own freedom for a pair of sneakers. I mean, when you kill another black man, how can you say that your life matters when you will kill another black man for that pair of sneakers? You're basically saying that pair of sneakers is more valuable than you are. And when you go and trick money off the women, you're basically saying that woman is more valuable than you are. And when you go out here and smoke this weed, you're basically saying drugs are more valuable than you are. I mean, a lot of these guys in the 80s, I remember a lot of them was willing to kill another man over some drug turf that he didn't even own. I mean, he didn't own any of the drugs. He didn't own any of the property. And he's going to do all this. He's saying that I have no value, that I do not matter. And this is the big problem with black men. So and that's what makes this whole Black Lives Matter slogan to me so disingenuous, is that you have black men just sitting there letting other people speak for him, and then he by his own actions is not saying that he's valuable. He by his own I mean, if he was going to say that he's valuable, he would show it through his actions. And when you look at black men, they don't show that they are valuable through their actions. I mean, when you stand outside of a store, again, another example, standing outside of a store at 2 o'clock in the morning for a pair of Air Jordan tennis shoes that came out 4 or 5 times already, you were saying you have no value. You were saying that I am not valuable enough. That those sneakers are more valuable than my own personal power. That I have no dignity. That I have no value as a human being. And these are things that black men don't look at. And this is why another thing what I say we need to regroup on everything, because if Black Lives Matter, we wouldn't be killing each other. A black man who values another black man is going to say, you know, I disagree with this black man, or I have an issue with this black man, he gonna have his opinion. I'm gonna have my opinion, and that's gonna be it. And what I'm seeing from black men, this is what I've seen from them, even as black boys when I was 12 years old. The minute a black man disagrees with another black man, all of a sudden he want to fight. He wants to prove. He wants to prove his manhood to other men, other boys. And the whole thing is that, or he gets into long arguments, like I've seen here on YouTube. You guys get going back and forth, back and forth, back. Black men don't do that. I mean, as a man, I don't do that. If you have your opinion, I have my opinion. We agree to disagree. That's it. I mean, even on my blog, I would have to deal with people like this. They would just want to go on and on and on and on, and I would delete the comments. They would come back. I would at one time, like I said, a couple months ago, I had to deal with a stalker type Negro male. Just kept going on and on and on and on. I literally had to shut down my comment section for a while because of this type of individual. And this is because these black men do not know how to function in life. They have no coping skills, no critical thinking skills, no understanding of how to deal with life. And they don't know how to process. There's a process for things, and that when there's a process for things, you follow the process. And with a lot of these black men, they the way they're going about this whole Eric Garner and Michael Brown thing, it's not following a constructive process and not leading to constructive action. But then again, this is because of the way they were raised in these single mother households. They saw their single mother and some of these dysfunctional simp males out here navigating through life all awkwardly, so they don't know how to navigate through life, and that's why they're not getting any progress. I mean, I look at the whole North Korea interview thing. I mean, he got action. He got an $80 million movie shelved in less than 2 weeks, and here we are in the fourth or fifth month here with Eric Garner and Michael Brown, and you got no progress, and you're never going to get any progress because the big problem is most black men are not taking a lead here. They're letting everybody else speak for them, and not saying anything themselves. Now, some people will come to me and say, "Oh well, Eric Garner and Michael Brown are dead." Well, guess what? Why aren't the men in those families speaking out? I mean, I look at 25 years ago where Yusuf Hawkins was murdered here in New York. Yusuf Hawkins' father was at the forefront, and that spoke volumes about that case. His father was out there speaking for him, for his late son. I mean, Al Sharpton was part of it, but because his father was there and speaking on this on the death of his son, it said that people took it seriously and said, look, if his father is out here taking a lead, it's showing that his son's life mattered. And in that case, two of the white guys who killed that Yusuf Hawkins and Bensonhurst wound up getting convicted. I think Joey Thomas got 25 to life sentence, and Keith Mondello got a 15-year sentence. And that was one of the few cases that Al Sharpton actually was able to get through successfully. And if you look at all of the cases that he was able to get through successfully, there was a patriarchal line in all of them. Like if you look at Abner Louima, again, the father was involved, and it was all black men taking the forefront. But I look at this whole Eric Garner situation. There's no black men taking no forefront. You all got all these black women at the front. They're all speaking for black men, and that's not a good look for us. I mean, if you're saying that black men's lives matter, black men should be up there speaking. Black men should be up there taking a lead. And that's not happening here. And that's why it's a quagmire. That's why it's turned from a situation talking about dysfunctional police and racial profiling to a black people versus white cop situation. And I find it deeply saddening that it is gotten that way because black men the situation with black men has deteriorated over the last 25, 30 years to the point where black men are at their weakest I have seen in the 41 years I have been living, because I have not seen black men this weak ever in my life. I mean, we're to the point where I would even say a gay man is stronger than a black man, because What's wrong with black? Because it's just because black gay man will go out and speak for himself. A gay man does not have women speaking for him. If you look at gay men, they're speaking for themselves, and that's why they're able to get stuff done. They're taking a lead in their own political causes and their own economic causes. They've taken control of their money, they've taken control of their lives, and they're making statements. And black men are not doing that. Black men are letting everybody else speak for them, and those people are making decisions for the black man. And what a lot of these black men don't understand is when you live life by other people's terms, you have to take what's given to you. When you live life by your terms, you get what you get what you want. And this is the big problem with black men. They're just taking whatever black women are giving them, whatever the white liberal gives them, and whatever scraps they can scavenge and whatever change. This is why you have black men begging for change in front of foreign-owned stores instead of going in there to apply for a job or making efforts to start their own business because most black men just don't understand how to do things on their terms. They don't understand that there's a process to getting what you want because their single mother has given them everything. They don't know how to go out and get things for themselves. And this is the big problem with black men. This is why this Black Lives Matter thing has fallen completely apart because I look at it and again, I don't see goals getting met. I see guys like Eric Holder just playing out the clock on black people. Barack Obama playing the clock out on black people. Because if you look at it, because I looked at the whole situation, Eric Holder said that, oh, I'm looking into it. The man has been looking into Trayvon Martin for over a year, and then in August he announces his resignation, and now here it is January, and the Senate hasn't even confirmed his replacement yet. So Al Sharpton and all these other civil rights dinosaurs sitting up there waiting for a federal indictment. Yes, is that going to happen? I don't think so. What's going to happen is they're playing the clock out because by the time the Senate confirms this black woman and she gets up to speed, I doubt we're going to see any federal indictments because then Barack Obama's term will be over because these guys are playing the clock out and they're just waiting for Barack Obama's term to be over. And then the next president comes in and then the whole situation just gets lost again and nothing gets done. And because black men do not know how to play chess, they're still playing Candyland. Nothing. They don't even see that they've lost before they even started. They just. I look at all the fumbled footballs in this Eric Garner and Michael Brown situation, and I see strategies that I see so many drop footballs and drop calls. Again, this is why I say black people need to fire their civil rights leaders because if a football coach made this many mistakes like Rex Ryan here in New York did, he's on his way out, and that's what happened here in New York. Rex Ryan, he had one of those bad seasons, and the ownership threw him out. They fired him and the general manager, and they're going to go get new people. And this is what black people need to do. Our so-called civil rights leaders have fumbled the football on both of these cases. And it's time for black men to take the leadership role and say, look, it's time. You ain't getting it done. We've put you at the forefront, and nothing's getting done. So basically, these pimp pastors, these civil rights leaders, it's time for you to go. And black men have to start valuing themselves. Well, the black man, this big problem is that he doesn't see himself as valuable. How can others say that your life matters when you don't make your life matter? And that's the big problem. When you go out here and you're smoking weed and drinking 40 ounces and feeding yourself chemical processed foods, how are people supposed to see you as valuable? And when you're out here submitting to women and begging for change, how are people supposed to see you as valuable? This is the big problem with black men. If you want people to see that your life matters, you have to take action that says your life matters. Men who value their lives are doing reading, doing research. They're they're going out looking for work, or they're looking for work opportunities, or they're trying to create their own job or create their own ventures, and they're trying to build something for themselves. This is what men who value themselves and value their time do. But many black men don't do this. And they don't take that leadership role because they've never learned the natural leadership roles that God created for men, because they grew up in these single mother households and they learn this pseudo Christianity, and they've seen this model in front of them where they don't have to take a leadership role. So they sit in the back, they play the submissive role, and then they expect people to value them. How can somebody value you when you're not doing anything to show that you're valuable? How can you expect somebody to value you when you're not showing that you're an asset? When you're not bringing anything to the table? And this is the big problem with black men. And when I look at the whole Black Lives Matter thing, it's destined to fail because we don't have any black men showing that they matter. And this is a men's issue. This is not a black female issue. And everybody needs to understand it's not a black female issue. It's a black men's issue. And unless black men show that their lives matter, nothing is going to change. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.